Welcome, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, August 8th. It's about 7:05 p.m. Tonight we have a planning and zoning public meeting and general public hearing, and general meeting. A pretty straightforward agenda, but a couple fun items. The first item on the agenda is going to be the continuation of public hearing regarding a site plan application number 105D as in David, special permit application number 552 B as in boy, land filling and regrading application number 574A, also known as PL 25-49. The address is Old Kings Highway North, number 104 LLC, that's the ownership name, and Old Kings Highway North, number 108 LLC, 104 and 108 Old Kings Highway North. The proposal is to raze the two existing vacant residential office buildings, residential/office buildings on the subject properties, merge the two lots, and redevelop the property as multifamily residential, and to perform related site development activities, including regrading the property, construction of parking, installation of landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management. The applicant proposed to construct two 3-story multifamily apartment buildings, each with 4 two-bedroom dwelling units for a total of 8 dwelling units, including one deed-restricted affordable unit. The subject properties are located on the west side of Old Kings Highway North, approximately 0.26 miles northeast of their intersection with Brookside Road. 104 Old Kings Highway North is shown on Assessor's map number 35 as lot number 17. That site is 0.21 plus minus acres, and 108 Old Kings Highway North is shown on Assessor's map number 35 as lot 18. That site is 0.23 acres. Both properties are located in the DB Design Business DBZ zone. Fred, now we discussed this application one night or two nights already?
It was one night,
Okay.
May 27th. The commission continued the hearing on that evening to allow for the Environmental Protection Commission decision, and the EPC did in fact issue their approval on the application on June 4th. Most of the other outstanding issues and concerns of the commission had been addressed by the applicant prior to the continuation. Just as a quick reminder, the commission had hired Joe Canis of Ty and Bond to conduct an engineering review of the site plan, as well as Greg Del Rio of Hardesty and Hanover to conduct a traffic and parking review of the application. The Architectural Review Board, the ARB, issued a favorable report on the application on May 20th, and the Police Commission issued a letter on May 27th noting no further review necessary based on what had been put forth by Greg Del Rio of Hardesty and Hanover.
So that was after the hearing of May 26th.
Correct.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Since that time, we received some minor correspondence from Fire Marshal Bob Bush related to access to the site by fire apparatus and turning radii at the entrance to the site. Kimley Horn, the applicant's traffic consultant, submitted an email dated yesterday, July 7th, responding to Mr. Bush's comments relative to access. And I believe that's where we stand. Jeremy, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah.
The EPC approval, the Kimley Horn, John Canning, and that's pretty much where we left off with only minor issues. The related zone change application, the hearing has been closed on that.
Great. So, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing we were waiting for to close this hearing was the EPC sign-off, which was the next thing.
That's
That's
correct.
correct.
Okay, fantastic.
And-
Okay.
and just
Wilder Gleason, please introduce
Yeah,
yourself. sir.
Wilder Gleason, Gleason and Associates representing the applicant. There is one thing that Fred missed. Bob Bush sent an email yesterday afternoon saying, thank you for clarifying Kimley Horns, and this is acceptable. So he's all signed off, everything's fine. And he also relieved us of some of his earlier conditions, like standpipes, because our building is much smaller than he anticipated, so that some of the things that he wanted imposed are no longer part of
But it's
his
still
approval.
fully sprinkled, right?
Fully sprinklered, and we're putting a hydrant in front of the property wherever he wants it.
Okay.
So
So
we are going to do whatever he wants, but his list of requirements has been reduced because he realized the proposed buildings are smaller than he had.
So instead of
initially.
having a wet or dry sprinkler system, it's going to be a standpipe system.
He said he didn't need a standpipes, I think is what he said.
Okay.
Yes,
That's fine.
that's correct.
Okay,
So,
got it.
in any event.
I think that was it. We were
Yeah,
just waiting
that's
for a
it.
piece of paper.
I have nothing to add.
Does anybody have any questions on this?
No.
Okay, since it's,
Just a note, Joe Cannon signed off on it as well.
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
So since it's still a public hearing, does anyone in the general public want to speak to this application? I think we're all good, okay. With that said or not said, I entertain a motion to close the hearing. Jamie makes the motion, looking for a second. George makes the second, all in favor? Hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you. I knew that was going to be easy.
Yeah.
I'm sure why I was still here. Okay. Next item on the agenda, land filling regrading application number 590, also known as PL 25-91. Kevin and Diane Delaney at 63 Inwood Road. Proposed to construct a new single-family dwelling, construction of a new driveway, terrace, patio areas, and perform related site development activities, including the regrading of the property and installation of a new well, septic system, and stormwater management. The 2.13 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the west side of Inwood Road, approximately 510 feet north of its intersection with Horseshoe Road, and is shown as Assessor Map number 3 as Lot 7A in the R2 zone. Gentlemen, what do we got?
This application was submitted in conformance with Section 850 of the Darien Zoning Regulations under our land filling regrading regulations. The application, or I should say the commission hired Joe Canis of Ty and Bond to conduct an engineering review of the application. Mr. Canis submitted comments for the record dated June 11th, June 30th, and today, July 8th, which the applicant has responded to the earlier two comment memos. From what we understand, in speaking with the applicant, they're working on a response to Joe's comments of today. The application was also referred out to the building official. The building official submitted an email for the record dated May 29th, noting no issue with the application, and was also referred out to the health department. The director of health submitted an email for the record dated May 28th, noting that a full engineered code complying septic system, well location, and house plan will need to be submitted to the health department for review. Please be aware that a comprehensive water analysis will be required prior to issuance of a discharge permit, and if there is a need for water treatment backwash system, that location must be identified on the site plan as well. So the applicant will need to provide updated plans to the health department for their review as well. William Pollack of Keith Simpson Associates, the applicant's representative, is here to provide additional details on the application and answer questions that you have.
Fantastic. Mr. Pollack, welcome.
Thank you.
State your name and affiliation for the record, that'd be great.
Good evening. I'm Bill Pollack, a landscape architect with Keith Simpson Associates, working with the owners of 63 Inwood Road. Just like to give an overview of the project. On the board here is the survey. You can see Inwood Road on this end, which is generally the south end of the property, with an access to the central area of the property there. The topography is sloping from the south to the north, generally in a ridge that goes through the center of the property, pitches in this direction slightly, pitches in that direction gently, and then also pitches to the north. So it kind of pitches in all three directions. It's a 2.13 acre. There's no history of development on the site. It's generally wooded. It does have a grassy area through that ridge. It was part of another property years ago, and that was generally some lawn space that's kind of left over in the center there. There's no wetlands, and there's actually very little shrub undergrowth as well.
So you got a nice, clean piece of grass that
It's
you're gonna build
an
out.
unusual piece of property in Darien with never been developed and no wetlands.
Not a lot of those in our town. Congratulations.
This is our proposed plan.
Yep.
The proposed conditions is a single-family house centrally located in the property. It's a one-bedroom, very modest, 2,100 square foot home with an attached two-car garage on the north end there. A small terrace off the south end and a very small terrace on the west side there.
How many stories is it gonna be?
It's a 1.5 story house, one bedroom.
Holy smokes.
1.5
Cool.
story.
Looks like a retirement house.
We're going to access it through, of course, our access way here with a gravel driveway that then approaches the house. A little bit expansion in the front there for maneuvering in and out of the garage. We are working around, there are a handful of specimen trees that we've been working around. We want to save, we want to showcase. The owners have made it clear they'd like to save as much tree canopy as we can throughout the property. The house will be served by a septic system, which will be in the back here, and a well, which will be in the front. A significant amount of drainage is being provided because of, obviously, all the new impervious with the house and the length of the driveway. So we have some drainage with underground Cultec systems towards the northwest corner, and then at the low point of the property at the bottom of the driveway, we have quite a large bank of underground Cultec systems proposed under the driveway as well. To collect the stormwater before it gets to those Cultecs, we have some area drains in the front of the house. We have some along the driveway. The driveway itself is intentionally pitched away from the neighbors into a swale upslope from it to collect the water and then go into that Cultec system at the bottom.
Okay. Can I just stop you 1 second?
Yep.
Jeremy, we're seeing this just because it's land filling regrading application? I mean, it's a
Right.
huge lot.
Right, it's a
tiny
huge,
house.
it's
I mean, no
a,
offense.
right,
Small house.
it's 2 acre lot.
Right.
But the grading that's occurring away from the house required that it be, and also as Bill just mentioned, there's some grading near that property line for the driveway. So
Okay.
that's what triggered the land filling and regrading application. You're correct, it's not in the coastal area, it's not in the flood zone, there's no inland wetlands, there's no tidal wetlands.
Right.
So it's just a matter of the fact that they needed to do a little bit of grading that they're here before the
And
commission.
the rule is you move like 6 inches of grading or some.
Yeah,
cubic
in this
feet.
case, it's right near that, I'll call it the eastern property line, if you will, where the driveway is.
Okay.
A lot of the grading they're doing is near the house. It doesn't extend too far beyond the house, so.
Because according to the topos, you're going from, 108 to 110 and 105, 110.
Yeah.
There's
It's
not a
mi-
whole
it's
lot of change. in it.
Relatively minor amount
Yeah.
of grading, but
Okay.
just to get the house in, it needs, of course, a level area to get
Great.
to approach. We're not creating any steep slopes, there's no retaining walls proposed.
Great.
It's
And the
real modest.
stormwater management is, we need that because it's such a,
Because it's a new house on a vacant lot, the amount of new impervious surface exceeds 1,000 square feet.
okay,
So they have to do a full drainage analysis.
great. Fresh
as
meadow, right?
Fresh meadow approach, which is treated like, it was, ironically, it was a fresh meadow. And so we've brought in peer review engineer Joe Canis, who can speak after Bill's done, to go through the methodology used by the applicant's engineer and talk about what issues they've had to cover as part of that analysis.
Fantastic, thank you. So, it seems like a great project, but we don't have to get deep into the weeds because it's a quote-unquote smaller project on a big piece of lot,
Yeah.
dream house. for
It can
the-
obviously support a much larger development.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, keep going, I'm sorry.
Sure, we'll see that.
And just lastly, we are proposing to install some evergreen tree buffer screening to help for some privacy with the neighbors to the east and the neighbors to the north as well. To the west, there's quite a bit of wooded area that's not going to be disturbed at all. And it's
Okay.
pretty private from that direction.
Do you know if your client has any plans for a pool in the future?
Not that I'm
No,
aware of.
no.
Okay. I heard it echoes.
No.
You said. It's pretty emphatic. Okay. There you go. And the garage is attached, so, okay. Any
I'm happy to
questions
answer
for
any
this one?
questions.
Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, I'm gonna invite Joe Canis just to speak to the application. That's anything that we should be aware of. And we
Thank
should be clear to go. And ask the names. Welcome, sir. Nice to see you again.
Good evening. For the record, Joseph Canis, I'm a principal engineer with the firm of Ty and Bond out of our Shelton, Connecticut office. I'm also a professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. We were retained by the commission for the review of this application, for the stormwater management aspects of this application. As Fred had indicated at the start of the meeting, I did provide two previous memos dated June 11th and June 30th on this application, where I offered comments on it. And the applicant has addressed most of those comments. There are still a few that are outstanding. One of the comments I had, and most of those outstanding comments are related to the hydrologic analysis, which tells us how much runoff is coming off the property. Yeah, initially, the applicant's engineer had studied the site as one unit, right? So they didn't evaluate the runoff going in the, three different directions that actually does sheet off. And they have updated the hydrologic analysis to account for that, flowing in three different directions. But I still have a few questions about, and they're mostly technical in nature, about the type of distribution that they used. I also had some questions about an unusually high flow rate that appeared in one of the computations. And there was some backup information that was missing that would help me determine if some of the other comments were addressed. So
Is it coming off the house or the driveway?
it is coming,
Because it sounds like the house is up high in the knoll, or a little bit.
that's correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so this particular one where I needed some additional information, I believe was going towards the east. So it'd be part of the house and the driveway in that direction. But, and I think that, when you see a really high flow like that, that's usually like an error somewhere in the modeling, but I couldn't determine, because the backup information wasn't there, so I
Okay.
couldn't determine what the source of that was. So that's something, again, I'm confident that they'll be able to address that. In terms of overall runoff, I think, they have the Coltex there, which, we see a lot, right? Not only to reduce runoff, but also to meet the infiltration water quality requirements. And then the other piece of this too is there's no basement, right? So you don't have the issue of the footing drains and the sump pump that's constantly pumping. So, although there's still comments that are outstanding, I think, with some more attention from their engineer and another review by us, we can probably get those outstanding comments resolved.
Okay, can we do that subject to,
Well, I
I'd
think
like to close the hearing tonight.
Yeah, well, let's see what the neighbors have to say, and I have to think about what some of the issues are, and see what might be possible.
Okay. I was gonna ask you a question. I forget, I was gonna ask you something, but I forgot what it was. Okay. Any questions for Joe, anybody? I have no questions. Pretty straightforward, okay. Yeah, there wouldn't be even if there was a basement in it, it really wouldn't matter because it's not in any flood zone, right?
Well, what we typically try to do is encourage applicants, if they have a basement, reduce the height of the basement. There's, all sorts of steps to try to reduce that pumping of groundwater. But you're correct, though, right? If this were in a flood zone, obviously you would not want, you can't have a basement, but it's not.
And I don't want to redo the entire plan, but is this a better candidate for a rain garden versus Caltech system?
I think, with the length of the driveway, they might be able to do some smaller rain gardens, but I don't think that's the entire solution. I think there's still, needs to be that underground element, just because, the size of the house.
Right.
But, there could be, like isolated peaks or things like that on the house that they could send to a rain garden.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Let's see what the neighbors say, and then hopefully you guys can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Would any neighbor like to speak to this application? Or anybody in the general public like to speak to this application?
I will say very briefly.
Please, welcome. Just come up to the podium if you don't mind, and give us your name and affiliation. That would be great.
My name is Ann Huck. I live down the road
Okay.
from where the new house will be.
What's your address?
90 Inwood Road.
90, okay.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we've lived in our house since 1986, and there's been a lot of trees cut down in our neighborhood, both behind us and across from the Delaney's old house, and it's, for whatever reason, in the last 5 years or so, Inwood Road floods all the time. Every time there's a significant rainfall now, in the last 2 years, Inwood is flooding, which is, I would think, very expensive for the town because it's deteriorating the road. It flooded and then it froze last winter, which made a mess. Anyway, the town is one of your neighbors because they have a downstream drainage system, which they installed and they have to maintain. And for whatever reason, it's not working. So you just need to keep that in mind, I think, with all the, the new impervious surfaces.
Right.
That's all.
Just so you know, the rule of thumb, which is really the rule of the rule, any water that's associated with this property has to stay on that property.
I know, but we all know that the town doesn't always enforce that rule.
Oh,
Hopefully
we do.
Well, the people behind us
Right.
clear cut their whole yard, brought in a ton of fill, but they didn't go to planning and zoning beforehand. So you didn't regulate it.
We'd have to check into that. Okay.
Well, the town is well aware of it.
Okay.
But, and that also happened across from the Delaney's old house. The people, they didn't clear cut, but they cut down tons of trees. They didn't bring in fill. And then, so they didn't come to you.
Okay.
And that was a remediation. Anyway,
Okay.
just so you're aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, is this part of the private association? This is the Altwood Association, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's a
But
public
it's a public road,
It's a
but
public
they have a private
Inwood is a
association.
public road.
And who maintains the sewers up there? Or
The catch basins,
Yeah.
town of Darien.
okay. So the roads are public, but do we need anything offside from our association? Do they get notified on
The
this?
association do.
I don't know.
The roads are public.
I don't know what to do. But I know when you go there, it says Altwood, Inwood Public and Private Association.
Excuse me, it's the only road.
If you want to speak, I'd love to hear from you. We're just going to sit your name.
Yeah, I'm Diane Delaney, and
You're part of the applicant. You're the applicant.
yes, I'm the applicant. One of the
Congratulations.
applicants, yes,
And that's
thank
probably
you.
your husband.
Thank you, this is my husband Kevin.
There you go.
What I was going to, no, I wasn't trying to thought, what was I going to say?
The association.
Oh, the association. Well, the association there are several roads as part of Allwood Association that are private roads. Inwood Road happens to be the only public road in the
Okay.
association and is maintained by the town. And that's the difference. The affiliation that the people on Inwood Road have with the Allwood Association is purely social, if you will.
Is it
So-
really? That's fun.
So you have to pay dues.
You pay a social dues. And, and that's it. So that should be made clear just because of how it's maintained and all. I don't know what you want to say.
Gentlemen and ladies, I would just like.
You're Kevin.
I'm Kevin Delaney.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to point out, first of all, I would encourage everyone to go back to the site and see what we're talking about. We're talking about roughly 30 acres of property in the back country of Darien,
Right.
and there's 5 houses.
Yeah.
Okay, and our neighbors are upset that they don't have acres and acres and acres of timberland. In the case of Mrs. Huck, I've lived back in Inwood for 35 years, and her property is flooded from the very beginning. And the issues with her property have nothing to do with 59 and 63 Inwood.
That's fine.
And I would encourage you to look in. If there's flooding there, it's coming from someplace nowhere near our property. But it has existed for 35 plus years.
Okay.
There was formerly a pool on the property, which the Hucks mitigated the effects of that pool. That was a cemented pool. I don't know what they did to it.
That's
They
fine. That's
Yeah, we
fine.
can
But
constituted it, whatever.
That's
So
immaterial to
anyway,
this.
It is immaterial.
Yeah.
So you already live there now? You moving across the street or something like that?
No, we owned the property. It was formerly 59 Inwood.
Okay.
We owned the property. There was roughly 4.3 something acres. We divided the property
I got you.
back in 2021.
Okay.
And we sold our family home to our son and his family. And then we decided that we didn't know at the time what we would do with it, but we decided recently that we would build a small retirement home for us. in the
That's
back.
fun.
And that's where it is.
Okay, great.
Anyway, so, do you have anything else you want to
Any
say?
other background? No, I just would encourage anyone with any questions to go on to the site and see what we're talking about. And I don't understand the neighbor's position, because there could easily be a contractor that could own that property and put a 10,000 plus
Right, yeah.
square foot house
Okay,
there.
I get you.
We just want a quiet, one-story retirement barn in the woods. There's no plans for swimming pools, tennis courts, squash courts, or anything. It's just something that we've planned for many years as part of our retirement. And we sold our property to our children, and they live in the main house now.
That's great.
So,
So that's our story.
Fantastic.
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to this application? Please. Here we go. Just state your name and affiliation for the record. Nice to
Hello,
see you.
Steve Mulvaney.
How are you?
Okay, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you all for being here this evening and taking on the task of
Just give the
good
quick part of your name.
property management, we hope. My name is Lori Williamson. My husband and I, Richard Williamson, live at 2 Tiny Wood, one word, Tiny Wood Road. I'm going to start with something that isn't that relevant, but may help with identification of maps and understanding development of the neighborhood. And that is that there are actually an area within an area. There is a development called Allwood, and there's a single entrance and exit off of Horseshoe Road. Mm-hmm. And there are the Inwood Road is deemed to be totally a public road and maintained totally by the town of Darien. Has been ever since the development, the building of houses in that general area. And so Inwood is a public road, and all the others are private roads. And they are able to be a taxing district and formed as such in order to tax out the residents, the homeowners, amongst the roads that constitute the tax district, so that we can avail ourselves of refuse and road management for everybody's getting in and getting out. We get snow plowing and any things that come up with having to do with garbage collection and management, and also with the actual paving and all kinds of fun things. So there are two specific areas within Allwood. Just also, if we're going to be totally clear, Schofield Farms is not part of Allwood Tax District. So all the other roads are private roads, and the property line actually runs down the middle of each road. The next thing is to talk about the getting to be, because of changing weather conditions, the relationship between trees and water runoff. You referred, Mr. Mulvaney, previously to the requirements in our town, which have been pretty well enforced, thanks to all of you, about there being zero runoff. And that's getting harder because changing weather conditions consist of 50-year storms, maybe 2 or 3 in a year or 2 years. It causes a whole lot of flooding all around. And the area it must be noticed. If you care to drive in, you're welcome to, all the way down Inwood Road. You'll see down at the Inwood Road that there are wet areas. In fact, the property, all the properties have experienced a lot of water drainage. In general, there is a lot of water. So when you combine all these 50-year storms and the removal of these huge trees, which research has reported accurately that they suck up hundreds of gallons of water. So you're removing trees, you're putting on impervious surface, and then you're having 50-year storms. It greatly elevates the importance of water management. And we respectfully ask that you not close this until you have the full report from the engineer that the town has, I think, very responsibly hired to talk about and examine some of the difficulties that can occur with any property. It's not particular to the people who are making the application. The last point, respectfully, as I've gone on to the property, it is not yet possible to see where the proposed building is supposed to be, and therefore it's very hard to understand what the potential drainage and runoff is for our property, with 300 feet, I am told, of which backs onto the new Delaney property that proposed at 63 Inwood Road. Also, it backs onto the Sankey's property in a big way. We appreciate the statement that you will preserve as much tree canopy as possible. We hope so, but to the extent you can't, it's very hard, having driven back there once when the no trespassing sign came down.
It hasn't come down.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway, it's very hard to identify what the future aspects are for property owners, whether now or in the future, and also whether the property at 63 Inwood, the new property, cannot be enlarged. Darien has a problem, or the benefit maybe of having people who come in and like their properties and develop and develop and develop. And so we would particularly appreciate a little bit more time to digest the remarks and findings of the engineer retained by the town. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Laura. Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak to this application? Please. Just state your name.
My name is Stephen Brooks, and I live at 75 Inwood Road. which would, I think, be the property to the north. It would be the next property beyond 63.
That's 63. This is, okay, I see. Okay, go ahead, that's good.
And I would just like to say that, you know, I would say that, I don't want to say that I speak for all of the neighbors, but for this neighbor, we're not upset with the proposed development, but we wanted to ensure that there weren't going to be runoff or grading issues that affected our property. I understood from you, Mr. Olveni, that the rule is that water that runs off has to be contained with the property, and that makes absolute sense, and so we would just like to ensure that that's followed. And I think that the applicant's suggestion that the committee and others go to see the property, I think is a good idea. Their driveway that they've cut through runs directly along the property edge with our property.
Yep.
And so to ensure that runoff doesn't run off the driveway and then into our property and disrupting our water table, I think that following the suggestions from the engineer regarding subterranean catch or storage of water, and then certainly making sure that the grading of the driveway is such that it doesn't lead to runoff on our property would be very advisable. And so I would second what Lori Williamson said, which is, I think it would be beneficial to wait and get the full engineer's report and just make sure that that's followed. And then it would also be helpful to understand how those measures are maintained going forward, that if they fail or if it leads to runoff in the future, what's the recourse for us, or how is that dealt with? So that's my own comment.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just for the record, on this site plan, and either the gentleman, you can go through it again, but it shows all of the catch basins and the driveway. I'm looking, instead of saying north, south, east, west, all the catch basins are on the interior side of the driveway versus
on the west side of the driveway.
Right, on the west side of the driveway, which is the interior of the property versus the exterior, which is this gentleman's house.
Correct.
And the driveway is pitched towards the middle of the property.
Correct. To the neighbor who was speaking, which I believe his property is on this east
That's what it
side.
sounds like, yeah.
We're pitching the driveway in the opposite direction. We're collecting water on the other side of the driveway.
Can you flip to the other map? That's the same one that I'm looking at?
You're looking
I
at
think it was the
site
first one you had, the first one you had.
plan? The survey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called the site development plan,
L101?
yeah, L101.
101.
Oh, this thing's not on.
Yeah.
That's not for the reason.
There's no electronic signature or presentation.
Oh, okay, but I took the camera. What I want you just for, so we're sitting here and the TV cameras are picking up, just point out the catch basins and that sewer line that's there. There's a 6-inch SCH 40 PVC pipe.
Right, scheduled 40 storm sewer pipe.
Right, if you just take your finger and show where that is.
Yep, it's coming along here.
Yep. And then there's a catch basin, a new catch basin.
Here, again on the west side of the driveway.
So there's
Yeah.
2 of them, right?
There's 2 there, and then there's one closer to the road.
Right,
as well.
and underneath the driveway at the end,
Mhm.
that's the 16-unit Celtec system.
Yes, it's actually, I think we're up to 19.
And you mentioned the driveway is going to be gravel, not paved?
Correct.
Correct. So it'll catch water in and of itself. It
It will,
won't sheet
certainly.
run across.
Correct, it'll certainly slow water, and so it'll be a lot less impervious than we actually are designing for, because
It's not paved.
it's not paved.
It's not asphalt.
Yeah.
It's not asphalt. It's general practice now is that if it were to ever get paved, the drainage still covers it. So
Right.
that definitely covers, if this driveway was paved,
There's a lot of
there's
people that
enough
do that.
drainage here.
So you've gone overboard.
Yeah.
We've gone overboard, definitely.
My plan here says 16 Celtecs. You guys are calling it 19?
We just submitted the revised ones, I
This
believe it was
revised plan
yesterday.
dated July 7th.
Okay, I'm old.
So the revised plan has even more than the plan you have.
Okay. And then I'm just gonna call Joe up in a second after that. And then where's the other cul-de-sac system?
The other cul-de-sac is to the northwest of the house here.
And that's 12 up there.
Right, and that one has increased as well.
And that's on the Ms. Williamson side of the property.
Correct.
She borders that side, and it's, the closest cul-de-sac is 50 feet from her house, is that right? Or her, the property line?
From the property line, it's about 50 feet, that's right.
Okay. 'Cause there's
The closest we are with any disturbance actually on that side is 50 feet.
And the elevation change goes from, I think, 110 to 108. That's 2 feet.
At the back there?
Yeah, I'm looking at like the back stairs.
Yep. Yeah,
And the
there's,
foundation of the house is 110.3.
right,
And then along the there's 108, so that's
Right.
2 feet.
that's right. About 20 feet out of the house, we're just blending in with existing grade, so
Right.
it's a.
Got it. And those are the two cul-de-sac systems, right?
Correct.
What's the part where it says 100% reserved area and 6 of
That's
adult?
the septic system, so
Okay.
the main septic system is here, and that's the reserve, which obviously doesn't have to get built unless it has to get built in the future.
Unless somebody says it. Okay, that's fine. So we went over the driveway, we went over the two cul-de-sac systems. And if you look around the house, just point out so everyone knows where there's the other interior catch basins that are by the front door. Yep,
Yeah,
bingo.
there's an area
Just
drain
trace
here
that for
to
me.
collect any flow from that terrace and that side of the property, and then an area drain in the corner of the driveway here. We have a berm to direct water into that drain, and that goes into the nearby cul-de-sac system. The leaders go into the nearby cul-de-sac system.
Right, so that's what we would call the motor court, right?
Right, exactly. That's really an area so they can turn around when someone pulls in and out of
The hammerhead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's a 2-car garage?
Yes.
Okay. So we have another parking space for my small Jeep on that other side. In the hammerhead.
Yeah, you could,
Three-point turn.
you could
Right.
fit, you could fit a car there, yeah.
Fantastic.
Visitors could also,
Bingo.
there's space there as well.
Okay, that's perfect. Everyone gets that, right?
Yep.
On the same page? Fantastic. Thank you. Joe, can you just tell me and make sure there's 19 cul-de-sacs down here and the 12 up top is enough? Or it's overkill? Because it's like a lot of people do it. They put in a gravel driveway or a shell driveway or whatever it is, and 2 years later, they say it's a pain in the neck to plow, and then they just asphalt the thing over.
Right, yeah. Yeah, under your regulations, because in the future, right, because you'd be converting that to asphalt from gravel, right, theoretically, you'd have to come before the commission. I will say that the applicant has designed the system. They did run the computations for a 100-year storm. Obviously, the analysis needs some additional work, but that
What's the-
100-year
what-
analysis showed no increase.
What's our requirement, 50 years?
It's 50-year in the town.
And they did 100 versus 50?
They did 100.
Okay.
Right, they ran it up to 100, and they were able to demonstrate, obviously, we'll have to see, as the analysis is updated, but they did reduce peak flow for the 100 as well, so that does exceed the town standard. So there's some level of...
So they went above and beyond?
They did go above and beyond.
Okay.
Now, the other thing, too, with the cul-de-sac systems is when we... there's a certain infiltration rate that you assume in the design, right? Because as they fill up, runoff that's captured by those underground chambers is going to soak into the ground. And you do a test to see how fast that can absorb into the ground. The town's regulations require that you apply a factor of safety to that. So if you get an infiltration rate of, say, 6 inches an hour, right, for your design, you only use 3 inches an hour. So there's some additional level of room there, some belt and suspenders built into the system.
Okay. And those cul-de-sacs, those are level, right? And the north side is Sean Delaney's house, I think, on the north side of the driveway? Or I would say the west side of the driveway.
The south side is Sean Delaney's house.
It's actually the west side.
On the west side here, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, exactly, Joe. Right
Right.
here is the Sean Delaney.
Right, the
So
top
it's like the
side.
underside of the flag.
Right, okay, that's fine.
And Joe, what you're waiting for is just technical clarifications about the calculations. You don't anticipate some huge modification to the report.
No,
Yeah,
there
right?
could be some Coltex units that might get added as a result of these computations. They might get a little bit smaller, but overall, the concept I don't anticipate changing. I don't see those Coltex systems moving from where they are now,
Right.
but it's just, like you said, just technical clarifications on the model.
Is your questions, are they concentrated on one or the other Caltech system?
They're both.
Okay.
Okay, I did have a question about how they're modeled, because if you go into the model, there's 3 different directions, right?
Right.
And essentially, if you imagine as a flow chart, each of those 3 directions goes to a Coltex system, but there's only 2 Coltex systems. Right. One of the questions I had was, is that northwesterly Coltex system, did they run both of those 2 areas into one? And that's what it seems like based on the length, but I was just looking for a clarification. So it's little things like that I think can be addressed. And I think I know what's going on, but I just want the applicant just to confirm that.
Okay.
That I understand.
The engineer's not right here tonight, right? Okay, that's fine. We should leave it open for that now, right?
Yeah, the engineer was not able to attend tonight, but I guess the question is, for the applicant, how long would it take them to get responses to Joe's July 8th, which is
Today.
That's
earlier
supposed to be
today?
this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a
Were they
while to
gonna flip
realize
it
that.
today?
And it might take them a day or two, also to understand the neighbors' concerns, come up with the revised materials for Joe, whether that's a report, a comment, an email, and/or tweaks to the plan. But Bill can answer that question, how long they think they can turn this around.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
So that's the outstanding issue, right? You have the 2 Caltech systems, which it looks like this one's oversized and maybe that one's right-sized. But if there's, like you said from the get-go,
Yes,
the water flows in 3 different directions.
that's right.
We have the one here, so the water's flowing that way into this one, the one here flowing that way into that one.
Yep.
And where's the 3rd one flow to? I mean, I get it. You got 2 acres of land. This is a
The
big-
northwest Coltex system by the house here is centered on the
Divided that.
watershed line.
Yeah.
So actually, that system is intended to cover both of those watersheds.
Okay.
That's the design intent. I spoke to our consulting engineer today. We started to go over those last couple of comments from Joe, and we hope to have a response tomorrow or the next day. That'd certainly be our what we're aiming to do.
Okay. So can we get this applicant back on the,
Next Tuesday?
yeah, next Tuesday?
Tuesday, a week from tonight, is July 15th, Fred?
July 15th.
That
Yep,
works?
that's going to be, that meeting, July 15th, next week, is in the auditorium of Town Hall,
Nice.
7 o'clock.
Big room.
Nice.
Can't hear anything. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave the application open. So your engineer can respond to Joe Canis's letter, and then Joe Canis can write us another letter that says he signed off on it. Okay.
Understood, yep.
Yeah. And did everyone that wants to speak to this application in the general public speak? We're good? Fantastic. All right, so that's the case. Thank you. Understand what's going on.
July 15th, 7 PM in the auditorium.
Drive between 7 PM and the auditorium. So if it's, you guys trade letters back and forth, it
Right.
should be 5 minutes.
Thank you very much,
You're
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anytime. We're here. That's what we're going with. You're up for re-election, buddy.
So are you.
I'm looking for someone to challenge me. Looking for a challenger. That's no fair. Yeah, that's not typical, but it is. Okay. Next item up is business site plan application number 24 dash AG. That's weird. Special permit application, also known as PL 25-82. Mr. Falafel and Gelato LLC. This is gonna be cool. 25 Old Kings Highway North in the Old Kings Market Shopping Center. Proposed to establish a new 2,090 plus or minus square foot quick service restaurant in the first floor space formerly occupied by Gut Reaction. The space is located within the Old Kings Market quote-unquote shopping center, located on the southeast side of Old Kings Highway North, approximately 150 feet southeast of its intersection with Brookside Road and shown us on Assessor's map number 71 is lot 19 in the DC zone.
Sure.
Hold on one second, Dave. I thought we changed the rule that we don't have to see.
Right, this is a restaurant use in the DC zone, which is
Right.
Old Kings Market, formerly known as Goodwife Shopping Center,
Right.
requires a special permit. So this evening is the applicant, I hope I get your name right, Majid Janati,
Yes.
close. I spoke to Mr. Janati earlier today. He's
Yep.
the owner-operator of
Yep.
the business.
Yep.
And although it's called Mr. Falafel, it's a wider menu than that. It's a lot of sandwiches and other things which he has uploaded the menu online in terms of what you can do.
Okay,
General hours of operation would be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., but it's generally lunch and dinner. So, people might come in at 11:30, but it gives them time to set up at the start of the day. But they also sell gelato, so they would expect, you get a dinner business, and then what might be a nice summer night, you come over for a gelato after dinner. And
my kids go all the way to New Canaan for gelato.
it's a long way. It's good gelato there, but it's a long way to go.
It's a long way to go.
Okay. The plans show 3 tables and 12 chairs inside. There is now stores in Greenwich and Stamford. They will be using the dumpster that's in the back of the building,
Yes.
which already exists. There are other restaurant tenants there, Odalise, for example, the pizza place, which just opened, Emilio's, both on that side and on the other side of the center, there's other restaurants as well. There will be up to 5 employees generally, depending on what's going on. Some will be washing dishes, some will be working the line, some will be registered, and then if gelato's heavy, they'll have 1 or 2 people scooping gelato.
Okay.
It will be both takeout, eat in, and then some delivery service. So it is a quick service restaurant. You go in, you decide what you want to order, they'll make it, and you can either eat there, get it, bring home, whatever. How did that sound? Fairly accurate?
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
He's
Accurate.
pretty good.
So
I
did
appreciate it. Yeah.
Did I leave anything out that you want to tell the commission about how this whole thing operates?
We are.
You have to state your name and your affiliation for the record, and this woman is going to write it down.
Okay, sounds good. Good evening. My name is Majd Jnaidi, the owner of Mr. Falafel, Mediterranean Cuisine. Also the owner of Lavizzi Gelato, imported gelato made in Italy, imported to the US. And the owner of Coco's Cafe, located in downtown Stamford. We are at 2 locations at the moment. One in Stamford, one in Greenwich, Riverside, the border. And a 3rd location will be open up soon in Cliffside Park in New Jersey.
Wow.
And, hopefully we get the application approved here in Darien. Before we decide to open location in Darien, we did our research. And we do believe people of Darien live a healthy lifestyle. Mr. Falafel, we are about healthy food. Everything is fresh. We make the hummus, the falafel. We make everything in-house. It's daily prepared, so nothing is frozen, nothing is left over. We make sure that we sell what we make daily, and if we run out, we run out. And that's the reason we're coming to Darien.
Fantastic.
One thing I forgot to mention, which you've seen in the online submittal, is that Fire Marshal Bob Bush submitted comments dated May 21st, 2025. Kitchen's required to have a hood and duct system with fire suppression. Verify the space has fire sprinkler, which you've verified, yes?
Yes.
And that the location of the proposed space, what used to be in that space?
Gut reaction.
Gut reaction.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I found that confusing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just closed.
They move around, that's always
Yeah.
weird. That's fine. So you have to he's putting in a kitchen.
He's going to be putting in a brand-new kitchen in that space.
Wow. Hope the landlord's helping out.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and we're with the help of the landlord as well.
Big. Nice, good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you good?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Jeremy, tell us.
Yeah, they'll have to work with the health department if, once P&Z acts on it, if it's a positive approval, they'll continue to work with the Darien Health Department. You've already started reaching out to them as well.
Absolutely. Whatever is required from us to do from the health department, we'll definitely take care of it.
Correct.
And I know that the little plan we have doesn't show any outside tables, but my kids like sitting outside. You can have outside tables?
At the moment, it's not on the plan. I did not reach out to my architect engineer yet. I'm waiting to get the approval because as you're aware,
Okay.
it's gonna.
Yeah, it would go to the signage and outdoor tables,
Tables go to
architectural review board.
Okay.
So when I spoke to this gentleman earlier today, he said, look, I gotta make sure I get the approvals, don't wanna go too far astray, and then if the approvals are in order while he's buttoning other things up, go to the architectural review board, health department.
Okay. All right, cool. So we can still close this thing today.
Yes, unless there's any neighbors here who have any issues.
Hold on one second. Any questions, Jamie, on this application?
No,
I just have one for Jeremy. Do you remember with the Emilios, did we do anything with the deliveries going behind and picking it up? I kind of remember that.
I remember that, but I think we switched it to the
I
front.
don't remember exactly. I just want to be consistent with the two of them. So, I mean, it could be a condition of approval, but like, I don't remember exactly, because it was more like, I don't think he's gonna be, like, a pizza place is gonna do a lot more delivery business, I think, than a gelato store will do. I mean, but I'd rather be consistent since they're pretty close to
Yeah,
each other.
we can certainly take a look at that. I don't recall anything out of the
What
ordinary.
we did with it. I remember something with the deliveries.
Well, let me rephrase the question. When you talk about delivery, do you provide it yourself, or do you just put the stuff out for Uber Eats and all those
Uber
other-
Eats.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Because
don't do
I
in-house
think with
delivery.
those guys, we wanted their delivery
Their
trucks
guys in
to
the
go
back.
out the back.
Yeah, maybe that was what it was.
That's, and then if you order
Uber Eats, yeah,
you
you
got-
pick up, you can park wherever you
Those-
pick up.
yeah.
Oh, right, it might be the delivery vehicles.
Right.
Like Heights Pizza has 5 or 6
Yeah, yeah,
delivery
yeah.
And they're
vehicles
all in
that
the
they
back.
own, but the Grubhub guy
Yeah, you're
just
just a
comes in.
regular person.
Right,
Right.
okay.
No, no, good
That's a
luck.
good point.
I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to the gelato for my
Thank you,
kids.
thank you.
Yeah, my kids love it. All right, would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? I know Wilder likes that shopping center. And
I do like that shopping center,
I knew you did, all right.
especially
All right.
before flood.
With that said, I would take a motion, because you're good, right? You're good. Motion to close? Adam makes a motion, Ian makes a second, all in favor? We might deliberate on this tonight to give you a sense of what's going on, because this is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
So,
sounds good.
Take
Thank
a
you so
seat,
much.
don't leave.
Thank you.
All right, next item up. That's, I think, the end of the public hearing.
Yep.
Now we're going into the general meeting. We have next item of the general meeting is proposed attached ADU for Marie Barbour's house at 254 West Avenue, ADU 25-6. And I think Mrs. Barbour had a daughter that was a fantastic softball player.
I'm sorry?
Do you have a daughter that was a fantastic softball player?
Yes, I do, yes.
Yeah,
My
I coached
daughter.
her. I coached her years
Sophia
ago.
Barbour, yes.
That's right.
That's right. She's well-known in town. Everybody knows her. Everybody says, oh, are you the mother of Sophia?
I coached her.
Yeah.
All right, so
Very
in our
proud of it.
packets, we got a short description for the ADU. You want to explain it to us, Fred?
Sure. This is an application that was submitted for Planning and Zoning Commission review for an attached approximately 300 square foot accessory dwelling unit consisting of 1 bedroom and a small kitchenette in a space attached to the principal residence, which is approximately 3,266 square feet in size. Attached ADUs are allowed to be 700 square feet in size. As I mentioned, this is about half of that size, 300 square feet. This is an existing unit in the house that is essentially being legalized into an accessory dwelling unit. The submitted survey, submitted as part of the application, shows that there is more than enough parking on the site for both the principal residence as well as the accessory dwelling unit.
And it's also allowed to be 30%, is that right? What's the percentage?
30% of the square footage of the principal residence plus the ADU up to 700 square feet.
And
So
so that
there's,
was, yeah, that would be,
it would be 1,400 square feet.
right, so we're like 10%.
Right,
Fantastic.
right.
Okay. And now I remember, because you used to walk to McGuan Park,
Yeah,
because you live right next door.
that's right. My daughter almost heated the windows with the
She
ball.
was on the other team, and then the next year I recruited her to be on our team, and then we stopped losing. That's a true story.
Well, if my daughter was the pitcher, I'm sorry.
She beat my daughter a couple times, but that's okay. That's why I put her on our team. Any questions, Jamie, on this one?
No, I don't see the checklist, but everything else is.
That's my only thing, the checklist wasn't on the application.
Checklist should have been
I got
uploaded
it.
to the application.
Not on the electronic.
As soon as you brought it out, I was like, I haven't seen that.
I got the checklist, they're all yeses.
I mean, I'm sure it's fine, as long as it's in the
Okay,
record.
we'll
Upload it?
Yeah.
upload,
Yeah.
okay, staff to upload checklist.
When we do something like this, do they have to get a survey like that? Are we putting unnecessary burdens on
I
them
don't think it's required.
to get a survey and do all this? You know, I get this floor plan and the size, but like, they've got a whole property survey here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
That
I
seems
mean,
overkill for
Right.
this, you know?
Well, this is an older survey.
We ask them if they have a survey. If they have a survey, of course, we ask them to present it as part of the application. We're not gonna make them do.
Okay, so I just wanna make sure it wasn't about
An
requirements.
entirely new
Yeah,
survey
'cause
for.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
Otherwise, no issues for me at all. It's perfect. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we want to do with this regulation. Bring these out into the light.
And because it's a general meeting, Adam, there's no questions and answers.
Thank you so much,
So
all
do
of
we do
you.
a
Thank
straw
you for
vote
your
on this
time.
now?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful
Hold
night.
on one second.
Oh, sure.
With that said, I would entertain a motion to approve this ADU. Adam makes the motion.
Sure.
George makes the second. All in favor? You got your ADU.
Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
really
Tell your daughter I
appreciate it.
said hi.
Thank you.
Steve Ovani, they call me Coach O. That's fantastic.
All right.
Right, next item, deliberation and possible decisions on the following. In our packets, we got some draft resolutions. The first one's going to be proposed amendments to the Darien Zoning Regulation, COZR number 2-2025, also known as PL 25-76, put forth by the Town of Darien Planning and Zoning Commission. Proposal to amend the Darien Zoning Regulations to specifically define smoke shops, vape shops, and tattoo parlors, and to create a new section known as 1135 of the zoning regulations to specifically prohibit those uses. Other amendments are to make consistent with the town reference to the town plan of conservation development and to specifically refer to the newest version of the state CT deep soil erosion and sediment control documents in sections 873 and the Town of Darien Stormwater Management Manual in section 880. The full text of proposed amendments are on file in the Town Clerk's office and the public and the Planning and Zoning Office for inspection and online at dariencT.viewpointcloud.com as PL 25-76. The hearing closed on June 3rd, 2025. So in our packets, we have a draft resolution.
I think we're skipping this one, Steve.
Are we skipping this one?
Yeah,
because we don't have enough
this came up a
bodies?
couple, was it 2 weeks ago? The state statutes require on a zone change, you need a majority of the entire commission, so you need 4 positive votes.
Right.
So when we were here a couple weeks ago, we said, well, in this case, it would have to be unanimous. And I think the consensus of the commission,
There's some likelihood that there will not be unanimity.
so the commission.
For sitting people tonight.
So we said, well, out of fairness, we can punt it a week. So we'll put it on next week's agenda.
But could you do part 2, the section 873?
I don't think you can separate it the way they drafted it.
Okay.
So it's not a big deal. We're back again in 7 days.
Fantastic. All right.
Hopefully, we have at least 5, hopefully 6, and hopefully everyone will be here next week.
Amy's not here the 25th. I think.
She's missing one item on the 29th,
Okay.
so she should,
Yeah.
so far, everyone's good for next week.
All
So
right. Ready, set, punt. Okay. Next item up on here. You ready? Proposed amendments to the zoning regulations COZR number 1-2025 put forth by Old Kings Highway North number 4 LLC and Old King Highway North number 8 LLC, also known as PL 25-79. Proposal to amend section 766 of the Darien Zoning Regulation to increase the maximum floor area of dwelling units within the design business DBZ zone from 1,000 square feet to 1,250 square feet, and to allow the development of on smaller lots less than 20,000 square feet within the DB zone to have up to 8 two-bedroom units with no single bedroom units. Proposal to amend section 766 of the regulations to reduce the rear yard building setback for developments complying with the inclusionary housing regulations, known as section 580, from 25 feet to 10 feet, where certain findings are made by the commission. Proposal to amend section 906 of the regulations to reduce the parking setback for the development from 10 feet to 0 feet, where certain findings are made by the commission. Proposal to amend section 945 of the regulations to reduce or eliminate perimeter landscape requirements where certain findings or certain conditions of farming are made by the commission. The hearing closed on May 27, 2025. So in our packets, we have a draft resolution.
It's the same issue with the prior application. We do have a draft. Certainly, we can deliberate, discuss, give us feedback. But it's the same issue. You would need 4 out of 4 votes.
This is the smoke show.
You're likely to have that.
I don't know what.
We're likely to have 4 out of 4, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we have to drag these people back after 2 years after you bought this thing.
As long as we can agree on the properties within 100 feet.
Well, whatever you say, you're the lawyer. You pick whatever you want to pick.
Well, that was
The
off.
commercial, is that it all?
Yes, and Jamie had her own issue.
All right. I get it.
No, I guess I didn't.
I don't either.
Mike had some questions.
He's not here.
Satisfied?
He's not here.
You guys
So
should
then, he's not here either.
I know, I'm just,
Too bad.
technically, you know, it's-
Technically, he's not here. I don't have my draft yet.
I don't have my draft either. I apologize.
All right, so let's let Adam go first, since he's usually
What am I
prepared.
looking at?
Any questions, comments, scrivener's errors, typos on this on this?
No, I
Is
had,
this what you don't have?
Yeah, I know that. It says Wiley Gleason on top. They don't stick those ones in my pocket, in my packet.
so no issues for me. Because we're changing these so that we have to make certain findings, as opposed to just as of right, I think it's well within our purview for future properties that it may apply to. We could find for or against when issuing a special permit, so it's not a uniform change where we're just reducing setbacks. So because of that, I don't think there's any real issues with it at all from my end.
Thank you.
and are we making the change where it's impact to commercial and residential property?
Is that in there?
There's reference to
Well,
it.
there's reference to it, but I don't see it in the,
What paragraph?
Paragraph 2,
Uh-huh.
when
Yeah,
we're
I-
talking about the overview, I saw that.
I
We
don't
wanted
think-
it changed to 100 feet, which is George's comment, or Amy and George's.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
she wanted commercial and residential properties.
So I don't think.
because it could
either-
impact either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because the tennis courts is commercial, and it could impact the residential.
Which paragraphs are we talking about?
Yes, are you suggesting the language be changed
Yes,
in a certain area?
Let's go back to the beginnings of the findings, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for where we would change it in the,
yeah.
You have to look at it in the second
Setbacks,
section.
parking and landscaping.
I think it's in part D.
Of the notes underneath the zoning table?
We would want to change it to where a rear yard abuts instead of currently residential zone, we would edit it to say commercial and residential zone. And the rear yard requirement shall be at least equal, blah, 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 to any of the adjoining commercial and residential zones.
And or, right, commercial.
Oh, and or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? And so D, part 1.
Go to notes, D1.
D1.
Yeah.
So just wherever it says residential zone, be commercial and or residential zone.
Okay.
Okay.
That satisfies that. And
That's-
then,
What else did you have, Jamie?
that's the only thing I had.
Okay.
I'm just checking to make sure it's not anywhere else, I don't think Adam has it.
Cut out here. We can do a find and replace as well.
Okay, yep.
We need
that's-
to.
I don't see anywhere else, but,
This is specifically for non-residential zones, so I don't think it needs to be in there.
No. The most important thing is the zoning table. Because that
Yeah.
goes in the zoning book. That goes in the code, because you're changing the code.
I'm
No,
not sure
George,
where the
you have any
100
questions?
I'm looking for the word nearby here someplace. Where the heck is it?
You want to change nearby to within 100 feet.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't see nearby in the notes.
Can you,
And I'm looking at the text.
I did a quick search, I didn't see it.
the word nearby doesn't come up?
I think that's just how we discussed it.
Well, let's see where it's supposed to be. He changed it to, because it's, I think, applicant.
Oh, impacts. Let's see, maybe impacts what we're looking for. Oh, here we go. So landscaping. That's it, it's all landscape parking areas. Impacts of such, yeah, I don't see that in the regulations anywhere. I'm not even sure what that really was referring to.
Yeah, because in the, while there's draft, he had the word nearby. So
Oh,
you might have already switched it.
I don't think 100 feet appears in here either. So where was it in his graph?
You have to look at his submittal.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you have that with you, Phil?
Unfortunately, no.
Hold on.
I don't think we
I
do.
don't even have it on his desk. Where'd you put it? Where'd you hide it?
No matter how much paper you bring with you, it's never the right one.
That's hard to,
I think it was in section 766.
We're looking it up.
So, no, he read it, Wilder read it a bunch of times. And that was the banter back and forth between
Yeah.
Amy and Wilder.
This is the way he's uploaded this, he scanned it, so it's a scan of the text document instead of a PDF.
Yeah, you can, that means you can.
Let's PDF it next time,
He's old-
scans
he's
of
old-
PDFs.
he's old fashioned. So it should, to me, it should be in 766. Right now, you're looking at 76945.
Yeah, no, I just didn't find it. No parking shall be permitted.
Okay, here we go.
At least 25 feet shall be provided.
Okay, so it's in
At least equal to.
In the notes, we're building section 580. Building complies with inclusionary zoning, section 580, may reduce the rear yard setback to 10 feet. Around there. Let's see, where's that?
is that in the narrative?
Yeah, exactly.
It says proposal to amend section 766 of the regulations to reduce the building setback requirements compliant with inclusionary regulation 580 from 10, no, it's still 766, because it's referring to the inclusionary regulations, you're not changing that. You're changing it 766.
This is impacts to nearby properties. So where impacts to nearby properties?
Just, can you like that for one second?
Let's see.
It's such
Yeah, it is
Reference.
766.
766,
Yeah.
Mhm.
You look at B.
so it should be in this.
Yeah. Do we not have that in here?
Mm-mm.
But you would have taken it right from Wilder's submission, right? Fred?
Yeah. Mhm.
Is that actually in the draft?
No,
It's not in the draft.
the inclusionary stuff isn't in here.
But it doesn't have to be. Because it's referring to the inclusionary stuff. We're not amending that. We're amending 766. We're not amending 580. Well, it's not here, then we'll have to worry about it. We do cleanups all the time.
Yeah, you did D 1 and 2, and then, so that was in part, so look, we've got D 1 and 2 here, right? Which corresponds to D 1 and 2, but part 3 was removed completely. That's why we're not finding it. You see that?
Yep.
And that's
So
the
this is
adverse
while there's
impact
some
part.
suggestion.
Right.
And here, we only have 1 and 2, so we don't have 3.
Do you want to add that back in? Just read it to them.
Yeah, so we'll edit it, so in section 766, part D, we've got bullets 1 and 2, we'll add a number 3. Where a building complies with the inclusionary zone, section 580S sequence, the commission may reduce the rear yard setback to 10 feet, provided the commission finds such reduction improves the functionality of the site development plan with no adverse impact on properties within 100 feet of the residential use.
So
Right.
any properties?
Any property within
Commercial
100
or
feet.
residential?
Because now it says function development with no impact on any nearby residential
Yes,
uses.
instead of nearby, we say 100 feet, because what would nearby be? It could be.
And
So
remove
instead
the
of nearby
residential.
residential, it's any property within 100 feet.
Right.
Yes.
So we'll make that amendment to number 3.
So you're grabbing 3 from Weiler's submission and sticking it back into the regulation in the notes?
Yep.
Okay.
And changing nearby to 100 feet of any property instead of a residential.
Because my lawyer friend sitting next to me didn't let me write that. Right?
No, because
Okay.
I know that.
Got it.
long
What's
flights
nearby in
are-
the size of the universe?
Right.
Nearby could be Stanford.
Jamie's sitting nearby me, I don't know where you're sitting.
Exactly.
We have the parking setbacks. Sorry, I'm not going back and forth with the.
906. And a new note C. Where would that be?
906?
There is a note, so.
In 906?
Oh,
906.6.
Oh,
Oh, there's a note C after the table.
Yeah. There's no 906.
there's a 906.4.
Should we come back with this?
I think we need a cleaner
Yeah, let's get a
draft.
second crack at this next week.
See you next week.
Yeah, that's too much. So close.
We're very close.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like
Just
you
see
got
if
4
organized
votes.
correctly, yeah.
All right, we'll do it again next week. All right, you know what you gotta do, Fred?
Yep.
Okay.
Alright.
It's complicated.
It is, well, it's,
alright.
the applicant changed like half the sections in our.
Yeah, it's
that
best
big
to
book.
have a clean version to work off of.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
Okay.
So we'll table that for next week.
Get it
Let's
done
keep the
next
ball
week.
moving. Next one is special permit application number 246, also known as PL 25-90. Sajeco, can't even pronounce it, LLC at 264 Heights Road, proposed to establish a new Pilates studios with the ground level formerly occupied by Inwood Fitness. Hearing closed on June 24, 2025. I was not at that meeting, but I did read the documentation. You're putting a Pilates studio and a fitness studio in.
Yep.
In our packets, we got a draft resolution, which is submitted by Greg Palmer, who's the applicant. Questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors on this one?
Very straightforward. Apologies.
I didn't see much that jumped out to it. Parking's pretty good at that spot because nobody
Yeah,
goes to the
tons-
post office.
Tons of stuff.
And nobody goes to the, no one goes to the dry cleaners anymore either. Right? I can buy my shirts. Did you add anything, Jamie?
No,
No, I didn't say they came out good, sorry, honey.
No issues. It's good. It's
Good?
on it.
All good.
All in favor?
Yep.
4-0.
4-0.
As read.
Fantastic.
Alright,
All right, next.
near water.
Next item up for bid, we're almost there, buddy.
Promise.
Coastal site plan review number 385, flood zone prevention application number 452, land filling regrading application number 582, also known as PL 25-21, Aaron Maxwell and Britton Bischoff at 160 near Water Lane, proposal to raise the existing residence, construct a new single-family dwelling generally in the same location, construction of new drivers, terrace, patio areas, and a pool, perform related site development activities. within regulated areas, including the regrading of the property, installation of stormwater management. The hearing closed on June 24th, 2025. I was not at that hearing, but I did review all the information. In our packets, we have a draft resolution. Where is it now? Here it is. Dated today. Any questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors on this one? These are usually tough because they're smaller, big houses and small lots.
Across the street.
With the pool too.
Yeah.
But they're
Yes,
raising everything.
right on Nearwater Lane.
Putting
It's
the stuff on the roof,
Yeah.
raising all the generator, everything, the pool equipment, we got raised, we talked about that in the meeting.
19.9% building coverage, 29.9% building height.
0.1 inches away from the maximum building height, if we
And
recall.
it's funny, I think this is, if I recall, I think it's an 8-bedroom house on 0.3 acres.
Exactly.
It's not a 1-bedroom house on 2 acres. It's an 8-bedroom house on 0.3 acres.
People can't cut down their own trees.
They understand the value of the dirt.
We'll see another house on that property.
Oh, yeah.
On that one, that's on the back of that, 10 years to build it in.
Easy.
Any questions, comments, typos, scrivener's on this one?
No,
Looking for a motion to approve as submitted. Jamie makes a motion, looking for a second. Adam makes a second, all in favor? 4-0.
As written.
Should we need to do that for the last one, for the formality? I don't think we did, I think we just voted on it.
No, we do.
Yeah, it's 4-0 is written, but Adam's right, I didn't get anyone who,
I believe George made the motion and I seconded it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for leaving me out.
sure.
Sorry. I'm just looking in that general direction.
Lose, you lose.
You know these people, they'll sue.
All right, so that, then deliberation only on any public hearing closed tonight. I would like to deliberate on the one at the formerly known as Goodbye Shopping Center, a gentleman that wants to put in the Falafel and Gelato studio,
Yep.
so we get his approval. Looks pretty straightforward, 2,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet.
Build
Any
it.
questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay, good.
Do you want me to
Staff,
draft for next
staff,
week?
please draft a resolution of approval for this gentleman that wants to put in a nice gelato store for my children.
Okay.
And hopefully he gets it open by August.
Put it on the agenda for next week,
Yes, please.
for a formal vote.
Next week, formal vote.
Fantastic. All right, you're done.
Thank you.
We'll be downstairs, we'll be downstairs in the auditorium if you want to come and watch us.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do that. You don't want to do
Don't,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
don't do
you
that.
can't hear it.
Watch it on the TV.
Go to Greenwich and so much gelato.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, next thing we have on the agenda is draft minute approvals, June 10th and June 24th. Can we do, or I can do June 24th because I'd rather, even though I wasn't there, according to
We
John.
got 3 people here on the 10th.
I watched the 10th too, so I can,
Oh, okay.
I can vote on that as well.
Okay, that's the night when we had Horseshoe and Hanover. Any questions, comments? We're gonna do 10th first. Any questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors on this one? Anyone caught? I'll just go through my standard hocus pocus. Neil and his associate, Malcolm, were here, gave us that. We talked about a house on Dog, after the, we gave, Neil and his associate gave us an update on what's going on with that. And with that said, the public hearing, or the open hearing that was scheduled for tomorrow,
The workshop that was scheduled for tomorrow at the Mathers Center has been postponed to September.
so anyone
We're
watching on TV, postponed for the Mather Center for the town planner Koshman has been postponed to a new date.
We're still working on the date. It's likely sometime between September 4th and September 11th. We're looking at a couple dates
Okay.
to find a date that not much is going on in the building, and checking the availability of Hardesty and Hanover and their team, since they'll have multiple people here that night. So we'll know very soon.
Okay. And just for the record, to update, because we're missing this workshop, we're not losing any time. Is that-
No, Fred and I have spoken to Neil about that, there's a lot of work going on in the background to keep us on schedule.
That's what I was thinking. Perfect, thank you. Okay. Public hearing, we had another public hearing on something. Some of the items were Darien Diner, that guy was happy as a clam. You guys out there dining. And then we talked about the zoning regulation with the vape shops and whatnot, and Old Kings Highway. With that said or not said, entertain a motion to approve as submitted. I think
Sure.
Mr. Riley just made the
Yeah,
motion,
yeah.
and Jamie Zionic made the second. All in favor?
4-0 is written.
4-0 as written. Fantastic. Minutes of June 24th. I was not here, but I did reference and notice all this stuff. That was the night where we did the Infinity Fitness. I think the total meeting time was 39 minutes, if I was staying corrected. That's the way I
I
did
believe
it.
that is the correct time.
Yeah, it started at 7 o'clock and ended at 39. You must have guys whizzed through this.
We're efficient.
Yeah.
Efficient.
Model of efficiency and governance.
All right. Any questions, comments, typos, or scrivener's errors on this one?
Nope.
Easy, straightforward.
Fantastic. We have a resolution that we can't change anyway. Deliberations, you guys deliberated that. It said great. Director's report, good. Okay. Looking for a motion who have submitted. It's got to be Adam since you ran the meeting.
Make a motion.
There you go.
Makes a motion, and who wants to make the second?
Jamie does.
Jamie's got the second. All in favor?
4-0 as written. Got it. Thank you.
All right. Chairman's report, just a couple of quick items. 80, 90, 100 Heights Road is under contract. The proposed buyer is going to be the V20, which owns the adjacent property. It should close soon. If you notice some stuff in the dumpster out front emptying, all the stuff that's in the building, that is part of the deal. They have to empty the building before the sale closing. And a demolition permit application has already been submitted. So I bet you dollars to donuts, 2 days after they close, those buildings will be knocked down. And that, the public notice of the demolition is what, 2 weeks or 10 days, something like that?
I think it's, there's some mailings that need to go out, and so there's notice that needs to go in the newspaper as well. So it does take a while. There's a chance that the team developing it may be coming before the commission informally, maybe in September, to kind of give you a sense of their thoughts
Which
on
is
it.
probably going to be after the closing and after the demolition.
That's correct.
Cool. To me, that's kind of exciting, and the one thing I want to add to that is if you go down Heights Road now, all the sidewalks for Heights Crossing, which what is called the new shopping center, are done. So you can walk from basically, no, everything's done. You can walk from the corner of Hollow Tree Ridge Road and West Avenue down the hill to Goddard School, make the right and go all the way to this property. The sidewalk gets a little dicey there. Then these guys will end up finishing it from their property, which is concrete, to across the old property, and then it gets to the corner and you cross the street. So hopefully we almost have the sidewalks done. And I think that's great. I think it's great for walkability, and everyone that lives in Avalon, whatever you want to call it today, can walk to, Seymour's on a protected sidewalk. And that's really exciting. The other thing that I think is important is 1897 Boston Post Road, which is where Wonder was going to go, is back on the market for lease. So the Carters are putting that back on the market for lease as 2 different stores. It's not really our job, but it's that thing's been vacant for 3 years. When did they get the vote? It's been 3 years. So it's a vacant storefront in our town, which is something we really do not want. So hopefully they can find a good tenant that takes either the spaces together or separate, and it's acceptable to the commission. If it does have to come from the commission anyway, because there's a bunch of as-of-right uses that go there anyway.
Started talking to a number of potential tenants, so.
Fantastic. The other thing I think is important to keep our eye on, 408 Post Road, which is known as the Val Salon, it's right next door to Nino's Pizza, is on the market for sale.
Yep.
There's a huge sign out front that says, for sale. And that's this thing.
Karate guy going in there?
Karate Guy never went in there. They put it on the market for sale. The asking price
Or
is
neither one of them, they were.
Yeah.
$1,295,000. it's, you know, it's a small building. I can't tell if the building's 900 square feet or 1,500 square feet. But it's a small building on a nice piece of dirt. So if anybody asks you about it, that's what's going on there. You might see something soon in town with regards to that. And the other thing that I want to just bring up too is, did anything else happen with that Yale urgent care thing?
They're coming to you next week for a public hearing.
Early? Okay. That's kind of exciting too. The Yale Health Systems wants to open up an urgent care place in the town of Darien. There's a bunch of them around Fairfield County. We already approved an urgent care place over at Darien Commons, which is known as Medical One, which
Yes.
is Amazon versions of medical care. That's the biggest thing that is in shopping centers today. The world's changed. I mean, I went to a guy named Dr. Godwin. Now we don't go to Dr. Godwin, we go to a named company.
Yeah, would go to 58 Old King South. Is that right?
They would go. Well, they,
Old Kings North.
25 Old Kings Highway North.
Oh, in the shopping
In
center.
the shopping center itself, yeah.
Yep.
You get falafel?
Yeah.
Get
Get a falafel, you go get, you know.
check out, okay, you get a gelato.
So, I mean, that shopping center.
Urgent care.
Yeah, I've
you
had
do.
some really bad.
He definitely doesn't have an ear infection. A day later, bleeding from his ear with a ruptured eardrum. And the
That's
doctor
not-
was like, what quack did you go
That's the
to? I was
one
like,
more.
urgent care.
Okay.
That's not broken. Like, are
Yeah,
you
but
sure?
Yale's got a pretty good name.
This is hard for healthcare, so.
But the big thing about those things is parking. If you ever go to that
Yeah.
shopping center, that thing's overparked. There's
Yeah,
a
big
million
time.
parking spaces in there.
Big time plenty.
The only thing I would like to do, could you guys make sure that the health department knows about stuff like that?
Yep, we'll make sure it gets referred to the health
Health
department.
Yeah,
department, the
it
fire
was referred
department.
after the health department.
Because
Especially in
for s-
light
for-
of some potential regulation changes regarding the health department and their
Okay.
capacity.
Because the one thing I remember that we talked about years ago, if somebody was having a procedure in some kind of place in town, like an orthodontist, you know, and something goes sideways, you have to call an ambulance to be able to get in there. You want to make sure that they can get in there, pull the dude out, and take him to the hospital. So that, I don't know if you do it to the health department or post 53. Did we ever refer anything to post 53?
I mean, we could, but,
That I've ever.
You're talking about in the front of Old Kings Market?
Yeah, yeah.
Generally,
There's not a lot of room up there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fire lane,
Yeah.
right?
Giant
Yeah.
trucks or the thousands of,
There's nothing fire lane.
there's plenty of.
The other thing that I think we should note too is there's another preschool that's floating around Darien that's looking for a home. The Goddard School is taking applications now, but there's another preschool that's looking for 5,000 feet in Darien too.
What about the old place where Montessori?
That
That building's still for sale and vacant.
Yeah, but that didn't work because of the
Parking,
traffic.
yeah.
The police department was way against it. We made it work, but it didn't work for them. But anyway, that's something that's important. So those are the
Take
four
that
things
to
that I
the
wanted,
valley.
that they would love to, but it's two separate owners. Yeah, that's the problem. So that's my report. I just keep on top of this stuff because when I'm in the business, when I'd like you guys to know what's going on and you see a for sale sign, it's kind of, to me, it's everyone else knows about it, so I'd like you guys to know about it. With that said, the car wash is also leveled and there's nothing left there. They've not come out of the ground yet. I don't, but they have all their.
permits literally on my desk, ready to be reviewed.
The building permit to go north?
Yep.
Okay. So that's something that we'll probably see coming out of the ground in the next 6 months or so. Those things are expensive to build, but I did a deal like that up in Bridgeport, and the things have built already. And I think I was there in January.
It's just a shell of a building. It's not like they have a huge.
No, but the equipment's.
Yeah, like the piping and stuff. But other than that, it's not like an office. You gotta
Yeah.
fit it out and put nice bathrooms and everything.
So that's me. Director's report, anything special?
Nope,
Bill?
the only thing I'll mention tonight, we'll talk about it more at one of our other July meetings. We talked, what's been 6 months ago, about the potential for zoning citations, where the zoning officer can
Rate tickets.
write someone a notice violation. If they don't correct it, you can issue them a fine or a ticket. So we're aiming to, the way it works is it's got to be approved by the RTM. So we have to use the RTM September meeting date and then back up from there, because you have to go not only the full RTM, but before that, Rules Committee, potentially PZ&H. Before then, Board of Selectmen to build support, potentially Architecture Review Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning and Zoning Commission. So we're already, even though it's first week of July, basically squeezing the schedule. So you'll see it on the agenda one more time as we kind of work your way, talk a little bit more about, so when we go to the RTM, we can say, look, we run it by the following boards: Board of Selectmen, Planning and Zoning, ARB, everyone's on board, and then I'll be spending my evenings with RTM committees and the full RTM in September to get that ordinance approved.
So it basically starts with us, it goes through the whole process, and then it finishes with us at the end?
Yeah, what's going to happen is the goal is to have the RTM have an official town ordinance that lays out what needs to be done, and then there might have to be a tweak to your regulations to specifically say, oh, and by the way, we have zoning citations.
Right.
So I'll be working with town council for the next 3 to 4 weeks, getting everything buttoned up, not only the wording, the procedure, and most importantly, the time frame, because again, even though the RTM doesn't meet till mid-September, by the time you go to all these other boards, and many don't meet in August, the timing is.
I mean, I know you know exactly what's going on, but I would just consult with George also, because of the due process piece, because you deal with that all the time.
We do.
with resident
Yeah.
blight board.
The blight, yep.
That blight, I don't know who started the blight thing, but I know that took years to get.
Right. There has to be a hearing officer appointed, but that can't happen until after the ordinance is passed. So it's not only getting the ordinance passed with an effective date, then there's some other things that need to be done after that. So we're trying to lay it all out in terms of a timeline, who needs what from whom and when.
Set fines, that should be.
And then the question of how much the fine could be, maximum size.
$50,000. Make it so high that one person gets it and it never happens again.
That would be one.
We'll see.
Hey, we're already at 100.
Sacrificial.
Can we get rid of the
With
hearing
that
officer
said,
then?
what
Yes.
about, what do we ever do with the sign about, like, you know, the public hearing going on this?
You know, we haven't started looking into that yet, that question of what do other towns do, is it worthwhile? So.
Because I saw it, I was at another one 2 weeks ago, and it said like zoning meeting on blah, blah, blah date. But most of those are always in New York.
Yeah.
I saw one on Richards Avenue the other day.
Yeah, Norwalk, I think, is started. I'm gonna have to find out
They
what
do it in
Norwalk's doing.
Stanford too for liquor licenses.
Yeah, liquor licenses, you have to do it.
That's totally different
So-
ballgame.
Yeah, it's down
I
here.
guess it's tough because we have to balance the whole signs all over the place versus the public notice, and so we'll get started on that once we kind of make progress on this.
And I do think there's a distinction between residential and commercial. I mean, I know certain towns, for a commercial, it's gotta be like 2 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah,
So you can,
Yeah,
and
big
some
signs.
are white, some are paper,
Yeah.
some are orange.
Sure,
But a
everybody will have their
residential,
say.
I mean, you could do, 2 by 2. I don't think, and then the neighbor sees, walking their dog, sees a sign there, like something's gonna happen here. But, I mean, I don't want to create an additional super burden, and I don't want to create something that's totally out of the box. But I mean, everybody showed up here, but, I didn't get, I hate to think I didn't get the mailing, I didn't know about it.
Yeah, 'cause it's only within 100 feet. That might not be every property that's
Right.
somewhat relevant
Right.
to it. If, even when you do the abutter
You want
tool.
to put up a sign in front of every property that we're going to have a.
Imagine ARB
That's
with the
what,
signs.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yes. Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
I'd
well,
like
if you
to
did every
replace
single
it.
one for the rest of your life.
Point Darien demolition's required,
Yeah.
Yeah, demo
You've
permits
seen
are
that
out
on-
there.
Yeah.
And foreclosures.
and foreclosures.
Okay,
All right.
that's director's report. Anything else? George has already packed up like Mike.
Continuing
Upcoming
as we
meetings.
We know Ned Lamont vetoed the housing bill for now. Special session, it convenes in a month.
Yeah.
The first selectman, with that said, the first selectman is trying to put together a team of people to go over, because you don't veto something without a backup plan, because there's something that's gonna happen.
There's a backup plan.
You gotta take out the bid, you gotta take whatever's bid and submit something. I mean, I personally think that we're the model child that they should follow. But the big thing that we do is the 14% inclusionary. And that, I think, is a piece of the puzzle. But I don't, and there's all kinds of, I don't know what's going on with fair share, I don't know what's going on with the commercial to residential conversions as of right, and I don't know what's going on with the parking. And those are the big things that we're concerned with in our town.
And I think the governor was particularly concerned about the number of units that were being assigned to all the municipalities, which he thought were way over the top.
Right, arbitrary.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the TOD at all, or is that something for another day?
In the governor's bill?
No, well, the TOD study with their.
Oh, that would be something for another day.
Okay, that's fine. All right, with that said, our next meetings are next week and 2 weeks after that, then we're on vacation. Entertain a motion to close. Jamie makes a motion. Adam makes a second. All in favor?
4-0 adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.